Prevent war in the Middle East. Your introducer before was Sarkis Simonium. I'm Max Schwartz, and our third member here is Pierre, who'll be circulating around. We have had an amazing response in organizing this in terms of people at SUNY New Paltz put out a lot of energy to get people here. We've got people from Bard, and I was at Columbia Green College. We've seen a lot of support, and the message that we're trying to give is that, for example, when the event of the meeting at Cooper Union to organize we expect a massive outpouring of people on October 20th in New York City. The New York Times didn't even cover it. There were 2,500 people in the hall and supposedly 1,500 that couldn't get in, and there was not even a single mention of it at the New York, in the New York Times. And when one of the people wrote a letter to the Times, it was about that big that they gave credence to it. So that's why we're here, basically, to show that we do exist. The next poet in this portion of the program will be a Woodstock poet who has an individualistic also way of expressing the way he gives out his message, Ron Ryback. So would you please welcome him?
War, war, war. I was born in 1944, just before we bombed Hiroshima. My parents were always fighting. We nicknamed Dad Adolf Hitler. I was a claustrophobic Jew, locked into obscene torture chambers. My mother was a mystical Virgin Mary in an atheistic Auschwitz. Barbed wire, trenches, middle-of-the-night searches, forced marches, horrible medical experiments. That was my home life growing up in Michigan. Even the womb is a torture chamber when your oxygen supply is cut off or your mother is an IV drug user. More people are killed by domestic violence. More kids commit suicide. More people strangely die of spontaneous accidents, fires, preconceived ideas, prejudice. It seems the world is always preparing for war, even when things are going good. A famous Japanese billionaire says, business is war. The Eastern Bloc countries are in for a big surprise. They tore down the Berlin Wall, and now they're melting down the Iron Curtain. But I can't help feeling that our society is warlike, that everything costs an arm and a leg, that to be successful in this social carnage, you have to make a killing. Daily life really is a battlefield, and money is a gruesome weapon, more deadly than a neutron bomb. War, war, war. I was born in 1944. My heart is a gigantic door swinging between poor, mad castles and rich, dark dungeons. American society has nothing to brag about. Our bloody pyramids gleam with barbaric cruelty. The White House is blood red. The New York Stock Exchange registers the depraved, frantic heartbeat of 100 million gangsters. Saddam Hussein is only a juvenile delinquent compared to us. Our city streets are filled with crime because our way of life is criminal. The Statue of Liberty has become the proverbial Grim Reaper. Beer commercials are purely pornographic. Whoever said an artist should be listed in Forbes magazine or Fortune 500. The war isn't in the Middle East. It's right where it always was, inside us. War, war, war. I was born in 1944, just when the Gestapo was dragging Anne Frank off the Bergen-Belsen.
Yeah, that was a powerful indictment of what we see as a contradiction. One of the things that we see in the Middle East, and as a lot of people here know, I've been to Iraq 3 years in a row. I've been in Iraq when the Iraqis were fighting the Iranians in 1986. I've been at the war front. I've been here in 87 and 88, and I just came back from Yemen. And something that we strongly feel in our committee is that by the USA putting in nearly 200,000 troops, it overreacted in an extremely dangerous way to a very dangerous man. We are totally opposed to the invasion of Kuwait, but by the overreaction of sending this amount of armament and troops in, we've given such a human being no choice but to put 400,000 or more of his troops in, and he has mined all of the oil wells in Kuwait, and he has missiles aimed at the ones in Saudi Arabia. If, on the other hand, this was a UN international contingent not massed against him as a threat, we feel there is some room to begin some form of dialogue, some form of diplomacy, as past President Jimmy Carter has advocated. And we really love Jimmy Carter for what he's been doing lately in life, because he's been a peace advocate, even between the Ethiopians and the Eritreans.